Right, 1 May 2024, and today I'm excited to be giving you the first update for the month of May. We've gone very, very fast throughout the year, and I'm happy that I've been able to broadcast here on a daily basis. So I hope to keep this up until we get to December. Then we'll come up with a new program. So the first thing that I want to look at today is what is happening with the finances of the country. So there is a critical development in the financial sector in Zimbabwe, which is obviously the introduction of the ZIG. Yesterday, the ZIG Notes and coins were introduced yesterday, and that did not go well. The Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe was only able to provide low denomination notes, that is the 10 ZIG and probably the 20 ZIG, but all I've seen is the 10 ZIG. That is what has been circulating. So most people have seen the 10 ZIG. And the problem with that is eventually you're going to see the bigger denomination notes making their way to the black market first. And the black market is going to be alive. The reason is the conditions that are there currently are suitable for a black market. If you look at the shops, they already have a higher exchange rate for sale. Everyone knows that there is a lot of money in the system. So money that has not been accounted for by the money that the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe says is backed by gold. So there is a lot of money that is coming and that you suddenly see materializing, which is going to turn from the old Zimbabwe dollar to the ZIG. So that money that you're going to suddenly discover that is in the system, and also the money that there is the government of Zimbabwe owes, that money is going to come into the system. The Zimbabwe Stock Exchange is going to create a lot of money, and the interest that is going to be earned by these monies that are coming, the debt that is going to be created by people who are borrowing, the money is coming. There's going to be a lot of money supply in the market. So do not even be surprised. Within a short space of time, we'll be talking about a rate that is very, very high. I am anticipating that within the next few months, it will be common to talk of the hundreds when you talk of the ZIG. And you can quote me here. This is something that we've seen before. It's going to happen again. We are going to see a big crash of the ZIG because the conditions are not suitable, especially the conditions for dialogue. There's a need for dialogue in Zimbabwe, and Mnangagwa does not understand it. People keep telling Mnangagwa that he must have dialogue, but he doesn't understand it. But today I want to start with what is happening at Mutapa Fund. So you remember that I've talked about Mutapa Fund in the past. And Mutapa Fund is an instrument that has been created by Mnangagwa. That was created last year. And I went into great detail with what is wrong with Mutapa. Mutapa is, they've taken a bunch of companies and they've put them together. Then these companies are no longer under the control of the normal state-owned enterprises acts. So they're being managed now directly from Mnangagwa's office. And yesterday I touched briefly when I was talking about Zimiri on Mutapa Fund. Mutapa Fund is going to be a big piggy bank for the big boys to do what they want, and also to externalize funds, to do money laundering and to clean their funds. So the end result here is you're going to eventually see a lot of money moving out of Zimbabwe through Mutapa. And now what we've seen is that Tagwirei, so the billionaire Kuda Tagwirei, is also involved in these companies. The way he's involved is that currently they've appointed the CEO of Kuvimba, and this guy is called Simbarase Chinyemba. They've appointed him now as the CEO of Mutapa Fund. So he's going to be moving into Mutapa. And I've got nothing against Chinyemba myself. But what you have to understand is that these guys operate like a cartel. So everything that is happening right now around Mutapa Fund is like a big cartel, and it's got the same people who are operating in the environment with the one core purpose, which is to make as much money as possible from state assets and use that money outside the country. So if you look at Kuvimba is a combination of former government mining-owned entities like Sandawana, Freda Rebecca, Bindura Nickel Corporation, Zimalois, Great Dark Investments, Jena Mines, and Shava Mining Company. So that was a consolidation. When they consolidated those companies, Simbarashe Chinyemba was the CEO there, and he worked very closely with Tagwirei and Mnangagwa. In fact, Kuvimba was sponsoring Mnangagwa's NGO that gave scholarships to students at the UZ. You can Google that and you see it very, very easily. So the whole group of people that are working, that are now going to be working on Mutapa Fund, are also the same people that are working on Kuvimba, where they consolidated. Kuvimba has got multiple assets. But if you ask how much does Tagwirei own in Kuvimba, no one can tell you how many percent Tagwirei owns there. And now that he's moving his guy to Mutapa, you will not know what is happening there. Mutapa is actually the place where the money is going to get out. So whatever money is coming from all these government entities, eventually to end up at Mutapa, and then that's how they're going to be able to take it out of the country. So Mutapa is just a place for taking money out of the country. So that's what you must understand. And I've said this in the past. You can look at my old videos on Mutapa. And this is something to watch. Money is going to get out using Mutapa because most of these guys are sanctioned. So Tagwirei is under sanctions, Mnangagwa is under sanctions, and they need to find a way of getting money out of the country. You also have to look closely at the shareholding. Who are the shareholders of that company? And the structures, are they clearly, openly available for you to see what is going on there? When I look at the board, I'm seeing people like Chipom Tasa, Leslie Njovu, Tembele Kumalo, Farai Mutangamira, Bat Msakwa, Charity Jinya, and Prasad Bamire. And if you look at these people, these are basically the same players in the industry, players who are also at the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, and players that were also in Zimbabwe, AAG, companies like, organizations like AAG in the past. So these are basically ZANU-PF structures. And I do not know how this is going to end, but the basic fact is that Mutapa Fund is going to be a massive place where there's going to be a lot of money that is going to be used or externalized from outside of the country. So money is going to get out of Zimbabwe using Mutapa, and you will not be able to have oversight over what happens at Mutapa. And I know that most people don't understand how significant this is. These are the significant things that are happening. As the change starts to take place in Zimbabwe, change is taking place in our country. These are the significant things that are happening. And you need to watch these very, very closely. The movement of these people like Tagwirei, everything that Tagwirei does, you must look very, very closely. There is normally Mnangagwa here and Tagwirei next. These are the same group of people who deal with money and who externalize money in Zimbabwe. So to watch is what happens with the Mutapa Fund very, very closely. We're going to be watching Mutapa Fund. Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, we're going to be watching very, very closely what happens with the structures, with the key players in the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, the deputy governors, that level of deputy governors, heads of departments, and the structure of the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. If that is not addressed, nothing is going to ever work. But all I can say is that the ZIG will not work. The ZIG is going to collapse because the environment is not suitable for a successful currency. Mnangagwa is refusing to have dialogue with Chamisa. In fact, what Mnangagwa has done is he has started dialogue with Welshman Ngube and Sengizo Chabangu. And you can go and have a look at this story in the Daily News. I think I showed you yesterday. And Chamisa is not involved here in this dialogue, which makes no sense. There's no way in Zimbabwe you can have dialogue with people that were not in the presidential election. So you have to have dialogue with the person that was in the presidential election. And Job Scholar here is talking correct dialogue. People are doing the wrong things. And Job Scholar, as I said, will be speaking at the Geneva Conference or Summit for Human Rights 2024 on 15 May. So I hope to be over there. I hope that will be able to sort out the transportation and accommodation. Then I'll be over there. But the basic fact is that the mistake that Mnangagwa is making is that he does not understand that no matter what he does, without dialogue with Chamisa, nothing is going to work. And everyone is agreed. There's consensus that Chamisa needs to be in the dialogue. I now need to move through a few other stories, and then today I'll take it. I'll end very quickly because the holiday. It's Workers' Day today. Let's look at what is happening with. I want to look at what's happening with Hubert Angel. So I've been meaning to cover this story for some time. So as you know, Hubert Angel had said he was going to construct this building. It's called the Hippodrome. And what I've seen is that he's almost complete with this building, but it's not looking the way it's looking in the pictures. So the real thing and the drawings, it's not looking the same. So look at this. This is what it's actually looking like. So I don't know if Hubert Angels ran out of money or what, but what he's building and what he promised to build, it's not looking the same. So you can see that the structure that is finally built here doesn't look like what he drew. So the drawing looks like this, and the actual building looks like this. So I don't know why the big difference, and it appears that the quality of materials is quite poor. So let's see what's happening with Hubert Angel. There will be Miss Universe Zimbabwe being held here. He's hosting functions like Miss Universe Zimbabwe already at this venue, and there was also supposed to be a hotel. So this hotel here. So when this project started, it was supposed to do very, very well, but I don't know what has happened to Hubert Angel. I think the gold money has dried up and he's not able to get that money anymore. I then want to look at South African boxer, South African legendary boxer, Dingari Thobela. He has died suddenly. He was found dead at his flat this week, and he was born 1996, died 2024. So he's a very well-known boxer in South Africa. So he passed away this week, and that is big in South Africa. Then in Zambia, you can go and look at this interesting video of the Zambian Special Forces. They did some demonstrations during the Southern Africa Land Forces Summit, which was being held in Zambia. So all the armies of Southern Africa and other countries, they came to Zambia this past week, and there's a Special Forces video here if you're interested to see how the Zambian Special Forces is looking. Then in terms of Chamisa has spoken. He's presented a video on Chamisa News Network or Chamisa News Channel. You can go and have a look there. Please subscribe to the Chamisa News Channel. Chamisa speaks there a lot. He presents all his plans and what is happening over there. You'll be able to see everything that Chamisa is doing as it is produced and from himself directly. So Chamisa is making all the plans on the Blue Movement, and I'll also be bringing you the behind the scenes of what is happening with Chamisa. Fadzai Mahere has shared a video here, and I found this quite interesting. She was with Aliko Dangote, so you can go and have a look at her platforms. And what I can say about Fadzai Mahere is she did very well before the ZIG was launched. So she was talking about the ZIG and what was going to go wrong with it and everything. And obviously, I would like it to continue to go through that whole process, take us through as the ZIG start to collapse. So I'm putting my reputation on it. The ZIG is going to collapse. And what we need to do is, the ZANU-PF guys and Mnangagwa, they should not be allowed to get away with this. So the punishment that should befall Mnangagwa when the ZIG collapses should be equivalent to the damage and the value destruction that these guys are doing. And Mnangagwa, they're told every day, have dialogue, put in place proper structures, stop money laundering, and stop black market activities at the correct level. At the moment, they're busy arresting ordinary people on the street. They've arrested those 65 guys. They're denying them bail. And that is just torture. Those are not the money launderers. The actual money launderers are at the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. And the actual money launderers are sitting at the banks in Zimbabwe. And they're sitting at EcoCash and Inbox. That is where the money launderers are sitting. The guy who's changing $10 in a shop is no one. They need to deal with the actual money launderers who are sitting at the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. That is where money laundering is starting. And that is where you need to address the issue. So I don't know why Anam Mnangagwa are busy chasing small fish and people who are just struggling trying to make a dollar. Those young guys who are changing $10, $5, they're doing a favor to the economy because currently there's no way for a retail to transact. So how many times have I said this here? If you go to South Africa, you walk into any mall and you've got $100, you can go to a Bureau de Change and change it. In Zimbabwe, you can't go and change it. If you've got $100 in Zimbabwe, you struggle to change that money. It's like if you go to Botswana. I once slept on the hotel lobby after failing to pay using $100 in Botswana. So we literally slept on the sofas because there was no way for us to transact our $100 into money that we could use. That is the situation in Zimbabwe. The problem is the structures. There's a problem with the retail. So do not arrest people. What this guy should put in place is a way for people to formally transact, put money in the ATM, so that if I walk out of my, if I drop off at the Zimbabwe airport in Harare, I can put my card in the ATM and withdraw cash. Right now, a tourist, as soon as they get into Zimbabwe, they become a criminal because there's no way for them to transact. There are no Bureau de changes, and that is because the people that are supposed to put Bureau de changes are part of the black market. So the black market is in the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, and those are the guys who are causing the crash of the ZIG. And that is how the ZIG is going to crash. You're going to see it here as long as they don't put in place what I say. Stop taking cash and putting it into the back door. Put cash in the ATM, let people withdraw, put a way for people to transact formally at the Bureau de changes and in the bank. Have formal structures and don't try to create strange currencies that no one has ever heard of. That is what Anamnangagwa and Uyumshawan are doing. It will never work because Zimbabwe is not in a vacuum. It operates like all other economies. So you mustn't try to do something that no one has ever heard of, like what they're trying to do now. So now I want to go through the news, and I really appreciate the support that everyone is giving to Dr. Clarence. What we're trying to do is to create a new kind of media. By the end of the next 5 years, the media in Zimbabwe should be functional to the extent that it is able to drive development, and we must be contributing to the GDP of the country. So at the moment, what is happening is, under ED, they are stifling the media, they are stifling access to internet. Where have you ever seen a country where to buy a router is 5,000 US dollars, 5,000 rands? So right now, I've been asking guys to buy a router for me in Zimbabwe, and it's costing between $300 and $500 for us to set up internet. And I'm not talking uncapped here. I'm talking just the setup. So the same guys that are controlling the internet, they're also controlling access to media. So like I said to you, if I walk in Harare right now, no one can recognize me. I walk from my hotel, if I'm staying at Holiday Inn, and I walk all the way into town. Like no one knows who Gambakwe is, just because these guys are stifling access to the internet. So most of what you're seeing here is only seen in the diaspora. So most of the 50,000 people you're seeing here, from the calculation that we do and from the metrics, about 20,000 people who watch me every day are in Zimbabwe. So if you take the whole of Zimbabwe and divide by 20,000, it's nothing. We need to have a point where more people have got access to the internet. So according to my estimation, the number of people that have got access to social media in Zimbabwe is 800,000. And that number has been reducing. So when we started out, I was doing analytics, and we had a large number of people who had internet. So Harare had about 645,000 people. Bulawayo and surrounding areas had about 200,000 people. And then we had obviously smaller groups of people that have got internet. What has happened now is that number has gone down. People in the rural areas don't have access to the internet because of the prices. So that is why we're trying to support more media platforms, and the government of Zimbabwe obviously will do nothing. They think that the internet is bad for them. But Mnangagwa, if he has dialogue and there's consensus in the country, there's no need to be afraid of people. Right, I think I need to look at the newspapers. So let's look at the H Metro newspaper. That is one of the best newspapers in Zimbabwe. I actually recommend these guys. If you want to spend $1, this is where you should spend it. H Metro newspaper. So today's headline is "Family blown away by love they received after losing son in tragic accident." So over 300 mourners bid farewell to schoolboy Tinai's family, thankful for overwhelming support. So a month after beloved schoolboy, I think we covered this story in the past. Tinai is let's read it here properly. Tinai died due to injuries after he was dragged by horse he was riding during a family Easter holiday outing. I showed you that story, so you can go and have a look at this story. And obviously, I'm not going to read the whole newspaper. You can check out everything that is here. This is a very good newspaper that these guys are producing. So just check it out. That is H Metro newspaper. And then I want to look if any other newspaper has published. So let's look at the Herald newspaper. The Herald newspaper always has bizarre stories like about Mnangagwa and First Lady. It's like the news at 8 p.m. on, if you look at ZBC, that is like the worst news ever. And no one is watching that thing. Like you get a whole country's main station having 100 people watching. Like that is crazy. That is because the news is not relevant. And as I said, the Herald is not published. The Chronicle is not published. And if you look at Newsday newspaper, they've actually published. So Newsday is also very, very well. They do a good job. By 12 p.m. they've already, is it 12 p.m. or 12 a.m.? They've already published, and you'll be able to see what's happening there. So they're saying ZIG coins not starter into the market. So I want to show you the headline, and you can also go and have a look at that. So as I said, they're doing very, very well. The Newsday newspaper, they're looking at the ZIG Notes and coins. They say ZIG Notes and coins starter into the market. So as you can see, this is sponsored by, my access here is sponsored by the Investor of Stellenbosch. So anyway, as I said, let's go back to the headline and then I'll look at the comments. The Mutapa Fund, the ZIG, and all the things that are seeing that are happening, it shows you that the Mnangagwa government is looking for solutions. But the problem with Mnangagwa is he does not understand how to work through the whole system to bring everyone into what he's trying to do. So eventually, that failure to have dialogue by Mnangagwa, that is the problem. Mnangagwa's guys, they've got a defensive posture. So every time they're defending, they don't even listen to what are the people saying, what is the market saying. They don't listen. Anyone who gets in the Mnangagwa system starts defending. You can see what Mishayavan is doing, is defending. Instead of having a collaborative approach, what do we do to address this problem? The problem is very, very complex and it needs everyone. So that is where the problem is. And what they're doing with the Mutapa, who was consulted, who are the players, and how is it going to work? So this is a very, very big problem. And the appointment here of Tagwirei's guy, Simbarasi Chinyemba, who has been appointed the CEO of Mutapa Fund, is clearly an attempt to have more influence by Tagwirei over Mutapa, where he already has influence. And you know that Tagwirei is planning to buy even more state-owned enterprises. He has bought FMO, he has bought the shares of NASA in FMO. He is planning to buy even more. I think if you gave Tagwirei a chance, he would buy everything in Zimbabwe and he would run it himself, which makes no sense. So this is the continuation, the movement of Chinyemba from Kuvimba to Mutapa. It's a continuation of all these things that I've been explaining to you. We have a very, very big problem. Mnangagwa's approach to economics is strange. You've never seen anything of that manner. And he thinks things are going to work. But bit by bit, not brick by brick, bit by bit, he's going to start to understand. And Zimbabweans should not let these guys get away with it. When this thing eventually collapses, Mnangagwa should be the first person to get the consequences of this failure. Now let's go to the comments and quickly wrap this up. I think I'm on 24 minutes. Mkoma Mtungama say, Utande can give you internet through expensive Mkoma. Yes, Dandemtande, I think you mean Dandemtande, right? So internet, it's very painful to me because I've got about 10 people in Zimbabwe right now. And out of those 10 people, they only use, I think, 20 to 30 gigs a month. In my house here in Cape Town, I've got uncapped. In my house in Johannesburg, I've got uncapped. And the whole thing cost me less than 1,000 rands, which is $50. And every week, my sons use about 500 gigs on that, on gaming, on all that kind of stuff. I don't even know how much I use. On my phone, Telkom, for 200 rands, which is about $20, I get 50 gigs. And that is what I use for my day-to-day, without even talking about how much airtime I get. I think for 20 rands, which is about $1, I think I get something like, if I'm not mistaken, they give me like 100 minutes or something. So when I call, I don't even call on WhatsApp like most of you guys do. I just buy 500 minutes, and that's what I use. So access to connectivity is a big problem. I even have a Starlink application that I did some time back, which is going to come. The reason why I've got multiple internet access is because if one is down, I need to be on another. And it's not like something that we all sit down and start to budget and say, "Kuti, now we're buying internet." In Zimbabwe, you have to choose between food and internet, and that doesn't make sense. We need Starlink to come up. We also need reasonable access for everyone, simple people or village people. The connectivity must work. I bought Econet data when I was in Masungo. I think it was a 50 gig or 15 gig. I end up driving back without using it because every time I try to connect, it doesn't work. So internet connectivity is not a joke. It's a serious problem. And Anamnangagwa should not suppress the internet access in Zimbabwe. We need proper internet in the country, and not the fake internet that we have right now. So that needs to be addressed. And I've seen this lady who runs around saying she's minister of telecommunications. She's just wasting her time if she doesn't give people internet. What is that? A country like Zimbabwe, with the highest level of education, like they always claim, they need to have internet to the people, free internet for that matter. If you go to the city of Tshwane, I think there's 50 megabytes for everyone. You may look at 50 megabytes as nothing, but for someone who's just on WhatsApp, it works. In Zimbabwe, some people can't even be on WhatsApp, which is crazy. Let's look at other comments here. Tagwirei should concentrate on producing cement. Yes, I don't think he's managing. What he's done, Tagwirei, is he bought Kaya Cement, and now he's not producing there. They're actually doing most of their production in Zambia because they can't produce in Zimbabwe, and they then import the cement from over there. So that is why you see, Kuti, the Mbudzi roundabout has stopped. Have you heard any ZANU-PF person telling about Mbudzi roundabout? The reason is that thing has stopped. There's not enough cement. They've run out of money. They pay Tagwirei and is not able to provide the cement that they bought. And then cash comes out of ATMs in US dollar in Zimbabwe, Gambakwe. Mukoma Mtungama, where? Wait, which ATM? I go to Zimbabwe and I've never been able to withdraw cash in the ATM. Which ATM has got cash? So put another comment Mtungama and tell us where we can get cash in US dollars. Because currently, you can't even get no more cash in US dollars. The Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, they need to make sure that the formal banking system works. And I would support them if they do so. I worked in the banks. I used to load cash in the bank. Well, not literally. There will be guys standing there loading cash. And I'll be seeing that process. And Mkoma Mtungama says First Capital has cash in US dollars. So I think if that is the case, that is Barclays. Remember, First Capital is Barclays. I used to withdraw cash at Barclays in Zimbabwe. So I'll test this the next time I'm in Zimbabwe. Let's see if cash is coming out at First Capital. Because the value of having cash coming out of the ATM, as I said to you, is I'll go to Zimbabwe with my card from South Africa. So let's say I've got 50,000 rands. When I get to Masungo, I want to withdraw $100. First Capital would then, or Barclays would then take $4. So when I withdraw 100, in my bank they'll take $104. So Zimbabwe has gained $4 just by me withdrawing at the ATM. And I don't know what my bank will charge me. My bank will also charge me here in South Africa. But that's already a way of every tourist paying something when they come into Zimbabwe, because that money remains in the country. But currently, this is not widespread. Because I remember I used to, when I went to Zimbabwe, I never even used to carry cash. Now I have to withdraw cash. And if you don't withdraw cash, you struggle. Right. So I think many people are saying this is available. Let's see if they can do this for the local currency. Let's see the ZIG coming out. And remember, guys, I do not want the Zimbabwe dollar to fall, or I won't benefit anything from the Zimbabwe dollar crashing or from the ZIG crashing. All I'm saying is you can't have the abnormal transacting system. So the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe cannot do abnormal stuff and then expect everything to work. And you cannot do things that are prehistoric. So follow the trends that are there for dealing with money laundering. Not arresting everyone and then keeping them in jail for weeks and weeks. That's illegal. So what the Reserve Bank governor should do is tell Chiwenga and Mnangagwa that this enforcing through arresting people and putting them in jail is not the right way to approach it. Put in place a system that will create the conditions for a currency that works, not arresting people. So I think we agreed that everyone wants the Reserve Bank to do well, and everyone wants our currency not to be dropping every week. So we don't want the ZIG to collapse and then we change, we go to another ZEG and so forth. Like we're doing ZWL, ZIG, then we go to a different kind of ZIG. All we're saying is take away the politics and do international banking standards in Zimbabwe. That's what we want. And you have our support every day here. You won't even have to ask, because Gambakwe does not benefit from just bashing the Zimbabwe government. As you can see, people follow what we're talking because they want to hear what is happening in Zimbabwe, not because of bashing Mnangagwa. And also people support Chamisa because Chamisa is presenting a vision of what people want. So what Mnangagwa should do is don't go against the river, flow with the current, go where everyone else is going, and don't do your own thing. Right, I think if you follow Mkoma Mtungama here, you'll be able to get a better understanding of what needs to be done in the Zimbabwe sector. So let us end this, and let me see if the Herald is out. I really would have wanted to see if the Herald was out today, because I'm interested in seeing how they reacted to the currency. It's quite sad when you see propaganda only. I want real stories of what is happening with the ZIG coming out of a newspaper, and then we can make a decision. Because currently we only have $10, 10 ZIG. That is what is coming. We need the rest of the money. Want to see what happens when the 20 ZIG, the 100 ZIG, the 200 ZIG start coming out. But anyway, those newspapers are still not out. And what I'll do is, today Dr. Clarence is taking a break. So probably we're going to be back tomorrow. And maybe most of our guys are also going to be taking a break as it is a holiday. So I'll be back in the morning. But our news readers normally come in during the day to give you 1 or 2 stories. For example, the Matsbaba Ishmael story. Everyone has been quiet. Matsbaba Ishmael is out now. And Matsbaba Ishmael is the guy who did the ritual that got Mnangagwa into power. So that's why you see this guy will never be arrested. He's Mnangagwa's Sangoma. That's why you see he's going to be out. But although he's got so many cases, like people being buried an hour after they're dead, and 5 girls who came out now and said Matsbaba Ishmael abused them, but he's going to be out because he's Mnangagwa's Sangoma. So I want to end it here. Please follow the news as we produce it, as I said, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Please have a good day. Thank you.